They see the marble statues, they see the gold on my shoulders and the crown on my head, but they never saw the boy with the strange accent standing alone in the corner of a cold schoolyard in Brienne. My name is Napoleon Bonaparte, and before I was an emperor, I was a ghost, a stranger in a land that hated me, and a land I was destined to break. I remember the smell of Corsica, wild herbs and salty air. It was a rugged land, and it made me rugged. When my father sent me to France, to the military school, I was only 9 years old, and already in exile. My classmates, they were the sons of the French aristocracy. They had soft hands and famous names. I had nothing but a name they couldn't pronounce. They called me Straw on the Nose, mocking my accent. They laughed at my poverty. They laughed at my height. But while they were laughing, I was reading. While they were playing, I was studying the maps of Caesar and the tactics of Alexander. I learned early that if the world will not give you a place, you must carve it out with your own blade. But I didn't know then that the very boys who mocked me would one day be the ones I'd lead to their deaths. Isolation is a dangerous teacher. It breeds a certain kind of hunger, a cold, silent rage. I didn't want their friendship. I wanted their respect, and if not respect, then their fear. I lived in my books. I felt like a foreigner in France, a man without a country. But in that void, I found something stronger than a homeland. I found my destiny. Then came 1789. The world began to burn. Most men saw chaos. I saw a door opening. The aristocracy that looked down on me was being led to the guillotine. Their titles meant nothing now. Only talent mattered, only iron. I was a young lieutenant, often hungry, walking the streets of Paris. I had no money for a decent coat, but I had the maps of Toulon in my head. I knew the old world was dying, and I was the one holding the torch. My first real chance came at Toulon. The British fleet was in the harbour, a dagger at the throat of France. The generals were old, slow and stupid. They saw a fort. I saw a geometry problem. I slept in the mud among my cannons. I was wounded by a bayonet in the thigh, but I didn't feel it. All I felt was the vibration of the earth under the heavy fire. When the British ships fled in flames, the world finally asked, "Who is this little Corsican?" I was promoted to general at 24, but glory is a fickle mistress. One day you are a hero, the next you are in a prison cell, narrowly escaping the blade yourself. This is what they don't tell you about power. It is a tightrope over an abyss. And just as I reached the top, I met the woman who would become my greatest victory and my ultimate undoing. Her name was Josephine. She was older, wiser, and more dangerous than any army I had ever faced. I was a soldier who knew only maps and gunpowder. She knew the hearts of men. I fell for her with the same intensity I brought to the battlefield. Even as I crossed the Alps into Italy, leading a ragged, starving army, my heart was in Paris. I wrote her letters from the mud, letters stained with tears and ink. My soldiers were barefoot, but I promised them the riches of the world, and I gave it to them. In Italy, I wasn't just a general. I became a myth. I moved faster than thought. I struck like lightning. We took Milan, we took Venice. I was sending millions in gold back to Paris. I was no longer the boy from Corsica. I was the master of Italy. But even as I conquered nations, I realized I couldn't conquer her heart. The more I won, the more I felt I was losing. They call me a tyrant, they call me a genius, but I was simply a man who refused to accept the place the world had assigned him. I climbed because the mountain was there. I fought because the peace was a lie. From the streets of Brienne to the throne of France, every step was paid for in blood and loneliness. As I sit here now, with the sound of the Atlantic waves hitting the rocks of St. Helena, I realize that empires crumble and crowns tarnish. But the story remains. I was the boy from nowhere who became everything. And if I could do it, what is stopping you from seizing your own destiny? The world belongs to those who dare to wake it up. Don't go to sleep just yet. Think about your own path. And if you want to hear how I lost it all, well, that is a story for another night. Subscribe, and I will tell you how the sun finally set on my empire